Hello, my dear curious learners. Welcome back. English with Chahar sir. In the continuation of this comprehensive series, today I have come with another literary term that is very popular, and the term is ode. So, today we are going to deal with ode. Okay? So, I will try right from its origin to the present state, and we will also discuss the journey of this literary term that is ode. So, once again, a request to subscribe, share, like this channel so that more and more learners can get benefit out of it. So now, without wasting any time, let's get it started. A new lesson which is based on ode. So, dear friends, the origin of ode also goes back to ancient Greece. Okay, and the poems were originally performed publicly to celebrate athletic victories. So that means this kind of poem is related to athletic victories in ancient Greek. It means the players, when they declare to be victorious or winners, then in order to appreciate and praise them, such kind of poems were sung, and since then it came to be known as an ode. Later, this poetic form was favored among English Romantic poets. Okay, so this should also be kept in the mind. In the previous part, that is sonnet, I told you we have two types of poetry. One is subjective, and another is objective. So ode is also included in the category of subjective poetry. Okay, so subjective poetry was very much popular during the Romantic age, as it was popular during the Renaissance. Used odes to express emotions. Now the things come emotions and their feelings, their sensibilities, using very rich and descriptive language. And now, if we talk about the present state of this, then we use this term ode to describe any outpouring of praise, and modern ode poems have evolved to include various styles and forms. So that is any outpouring of praise. So that is when we are to praise somebody, we are to praise some place, then the most suitable genre we can use is no doubt ode. So if we look at the definition, a poem expressing the writer's thoughts and feelings about a particular person, particular subject, and return to that person or subject. So that is the person and the subject is addressed by the poet and during the course of the ode writing. So we can take an example A.E. Houseman's poem, A Shropshire Lad, an ode to an athlete who dies young. So here we can say that A.E. Houseman commemorates the achievements of an athlete through his poem, and so it is a good example of ode. A formal, often ceremonious lyric poem that addresses and often celebrates a person, place, or thing or idea. Its stanza forms vary. Okay, so it does not have a fixed stanza form. The forms have a variety. Now we look at the Greek or Pindaric. Now this is the first. The Greek or Pindaric. So Pindar was the Greek poet, okay, and he for the first time composed this kind of poem, and it was a public poem usually set to music that celebrated athletic victories. So if you want to know more about Pindar and Pindaric ode, then you can go through this article, Stephanie Ward's article. Okay, so you can get to know much about it. English odes written in the Pindaric tradition include Thomas Gray's Progress of Poesy, a Pindaric ode, and William Wordsworth's ode, Intimations of Immortality from Reflections of Early Childhood. So, if you want to look at or be familiar with the structure of this Pindaric ode, you can just go to Thomas Gray, a poet of transitional period, as well as to William Wordsworth, a poet of the Romantic period. And you just go through these two poems and you will get to know each and everything about the structure and the beauty of this kind of poem. So it was known as Pindari Code. Why? Because it was written for the first time by the poet Pindar. Then the second comes Horatian Odes and Latin poet Horace. This was started by Horace, and so its name was Horatian poet. They were written in quatrains in a more philosophical, contemplative manner. And if you want to be familiar with this kind of ode, then better you go to Andrew Marvell's poem Horatian Ode upon Cromwell's Return from Ireland. This is a very popular ode written in the style of Horace, and you can just go through and get to know about the nuances of this type of ode. Sapphic ode consists of quatrains, three 11-syllable lines, and a final 5-syllable line, unrhyming but a strict meter. And if you want to know anything about this kind of ode, that is Sapphic ode, then you can visit A.C. Swinburne and his writings, that is Sapphics. So the odes of English Romantic poets vary in stanza form. They often address an intense emotion at the outset of a personal crisis, at the beginning of the personal crisis, just like S.T. Coleridge, Dejection and Ode. Okay, celebrate an object and image that leads to revelation, and you can just go through the odes of John Keats, like Ode on a Grecian Urn, Ode to a Nightingale, and to Autumn. Very, very popular ode which were written by John Keats. So, friends, from this information, I think you are very much clear that the condensity or propensity of ode writing is very much found during the Romantic age, and the Romantic poets really uh, wrote wonderful odes, perennial and eternal odes, which are still popular as much as they were when they were composed during the Romantic age. Now, let's go ahead and discuss about the structural part of this ode. So, friends, you can take the screenshot. आप इसका स्क्रीनशॉट लेकर के और बाद में आप इसको नोट कर सकते हैं and this will be really helpful for you. Now, structure of an ode poem: strophe, antistrophe, and epode. Okay, these are the three parts, and please remember them because they are asked in your examination. And these three parts are particularly related to the Pindaric ode. Okay, so Pindaric ode has three sections: strophe, antistrophe, and the epodes. So, strophe usually consists of two or more lines repeated as a unit. In modern usage, the term strophe can refer to any group of verses that form a distinct unit within a poem. Antistrophe, the second section of an ode, is structured the same way as a strophe but typically offers a thematic counterbalance. An epode, a section or large stanza, typically has a distinct meter and length from the strophe and antistrophe and serves to summarize or conclude the ideas of the ode. So now, friends, strophe is the beginning, and this is the counterbalance, and epode is the summary and the conclusion of the ideas which the poet is expressing in the ode. Okay, so actually these three parts are also the dance step. Okay, don't forget. Also remember this that these three parts are the dance steps. Okay, so go forward, backward, and then come together. Such kind of dance movements, and which are actually the dance, go according to the steps of the odes: strophe, antistrophe, and epode. English Romantic poets wrote many odes, all of which explored intense emotions. Romantic odes deviate in form and meter from the traditional Greek ones. Okay? This thing is also clear that were they were not so accurate in the form of the odes. Okay, so they made some variations and changes as per their convenience, all trying to follow some kind of traditional verse structure, like P.B. Shelley's Ode to the West Wind, okay, believed to have been written in response to the loss of its son, is written in iambic pentameter. So that is, different poets have used different stanza form and meters as per their own convenience of their expression. But one thing we should say that the odes written during the Romantic age were really unparalleled. Pindaric ode are named a Greek ancient poet Pindar, I have already told you, 5th century BC, consist of strophe, antistrophe, okay, and epode that I have already told you. So these are the three parts of Pindaric ode. Horatian, named after Roman poet Horace, lived during the first century, consists of two or four line stanzas. Okay, that share the same meter, same rhyme scheme. And Horatian ode traditionally explores the intimate scenes of daily life. Actually, they are called Pindaric are called public ode. Okay, public. They are the public ode. And Horatian comes in the category of personal. Okay, so Horatian ode actually deal with the moments of the personal life. and irregular follow neither the Pindaric form nor the Horatian form. Irregular odes typically include rhyme as well as irregular words, structure, and stanza patterns. So now the thing is clear. Basically, we have two types of odes. One is Pindaric, another is Horatian. Pindaric odes were delivered to wise young men who triumphed in the Greek classical games, again the same games, okay, athletes, performers, and then were performed with song and dance. Classic example of Pindaric ode consider the first three stanza of Ode on Intimations of Immortality that was composed by William Wordsworth. Horatian broke away from the strict structure, okay, strict structure. That is, Pindaric ode followed a strict structure, as I have already told you, that strophe, antistrophe, and epope. But Horace did not follow this kind of structure. He just broke away from the strict structure and he focused on more personal, informal topics. Odes were revived during the Renaissance but were not meant for public performances. Okay, I just told you that Pindaric are the public odes meant for public performances, but the Horatian is meant only for the personal revelation. They are more often intimate in reflections on friendship, love, poetry itself. One of the most famous masters of Horatian ode was John Keats. This you should also keep in your mind. Keats ode like To Autumn, Nightingale, Grecian, they are very popular odes and immortal odes actually, the great odes by John Keats, and they are written after the style of Horace. So they are called the Horatian odes. And irregular ode, this is called Cowley's ode. Okay, Cowley, that is Abraham Cowley. Abraham Cowley, the irregular ode relaxes the structure of the old poem even further. Okay, and after the fashion of Cowley, American poet Ellen Tate also composed this ode to the Confederate Dad in 1928, and this is also an example of irregular ode. So the tradition of irregular ode was begun with Abraham Cowley, okay, and then it was followed by American poet Ellen Tate, and so uh, friends, this is all about ode. So I repeat once more, so you can take the screenshot, okay, screenshot, and these screenshots will help you later, and you just note them down in your notebook, and this will. So this is all about odes. And like sonnet, as I told you, the journey of sonnet, the same is with almost same is with ode. Some odes were written during Renaissance period. Okay, then again, this was also followed to a little bit in neoclassical, but the more of the odes were written during the Romantic and pre-Romantic age. Pre-Romantic age, that is transitional period. Uh, Thomas Gray and William Collins, they are also popular for their odes. And then we come to William Wordsworth, P.B. Shelley, John Keats, and then later in Victorian also we find Lord Alfred Tennyson and all these poets. They also tried their hands in this genre, ode, and their odes were also very popular. So, ode has really been a very popular genre for the poets, and it has been a very potent source for the outpouring and for expression of the emotions and the feelings and sensibilities of the poets. So, this is ode. तो फ्रेंड्स, आई होप यू हैव अंडरस्टूड, आपकी ये समझ में आया होगा। और इसमें कई सारी मैंने डिटेल्स आपको दे दी हैं जो आपके एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से काफ़ी इम्पोर्टेंट है, तो आप इनको नोट कर लीजिएगा, इसको एक बार पढ़िएगा एंड ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड, एंड आई होप यू विल बी क्लियर विद ईच एंड एवरीथिंग related to all. And again, the same request to subscribe, like, and share as much as you can to spread the light of learning. And take care, study hard, be disciplined, and see you again with another literary term very soon. Thank you.